Today's discussion is for attribution. The program and materials are protected by U.S. copyright law and may not be reproduced, distributed, transmitted, displayed, published, or broadcasted without the prior written approval of OWIT. Should you have questions, please feel free to submit them through the chat box. We will leave about 10 minutes towards the end for question and answer. Until then, you will be on mute, but you can always communicate via that chat box, any hearing problems you may have or any other issues. Today our presenters are four incredible women who are highly professional women in trade and have left a positive footprint in building this premier trade organization. Let me start with Leanne Hackman-Carty, Chief Executive Officer for Economic Developers Alberta and the Managing Director Alberta for Grow Your Biz and past President of OWIT in 2005 and 2006. She has been serving as the Chief Executive Officer for the Economic Developers in Alberta, Alberta's Economic Development Network since 2009. She is also Managing Director for Grow Your Biz, which sets up peer advisory boards across the province for women entrepreneurs wanting to grow their businesses. Before that, Leanne was an executive assistant to the Mayor of Calgary for over 10 years, where she led and managed key projects, initiatives, and campaigns. Among her many outstanding achievements is a groundbreaking economic disaster recovery project involving 10 Alberta communities and Treaty 7 community futures, helping them to position for better economic preparedness and resiliency in the future. A well-respected professional in her field, she has led public, private, and nonprofit organizations through eras of change to new levels of growth and stability. She is a sincere advocate with an aptitude for bridging conflicting interests, motivating staff and volunteers, and influencing key stakeholders. Her desire to make a positive impact, whether small or large, is evident in her personal and professional life. Our second speaker is Angela Marshall-Hoffman, past president of OWIT 2010 to 2014, and is vice president of International Corporate Affairs Global Business Support for Walmart Stores Incorporated. Angela Marshall-Hoffman leads Walmart's international government relations and public affairs for non-retail markets, including the company's global sourcing, responsible sourcing, and global e-commerce organizations. Angela joined Walmart in 2002 in the Federal Government Affairs Office in Washington, D.C. as Director, International Trade. There she was responsible for the company's international trade and agricultural issues. She most recently served as Vice President, GNFR, and Sourcing Services, which oversaw the functions related to goods not for resale, indirect procurement, technology-enabled sourcing, as well as global trade, commodity insight, and supplier development. Prior to Walmart, she served nearly a decade as a congressional assistant and then international trade counsel to United States Senator Max Baucus. She began her U.S. Senate legislative career in the senator's state office in Montana, which culminated with his chairmanship of the U.S. Senate Finance Committee in Washington, D.C. She received her Juris Doctorate from the University of Montana in 1997 and Bachelor of Education degree from Montana State University, Billings, 1993. Our third speaker is Karen Bland. She is the current president of OWIT since January of 2014. And she is the Deputy General Counsel for Ferguson Enterprises based in Newport News, Virginia, the largest wholesale distributor of plumbing, pipe, lighting, and appliances in the United States. She provides legal support for the company's $13 billion in sales and 14,000 employees, with direct responsibility for national accounts and hospitality and facilities and maintenance, while managing attorneys providing direct support for other business units. She also advises the company on customs and trade regulatory matters. Prior to joining Ferguson, Karen was the General Counsel and Chief Export Compliance Officer for Measurement Specialties, and before that she ran her own law practice, where she advised small and medium-sized businesses on export licensing and compliance and export compliance enforcement proceedings. In addition, Karen has also served as the Vice President, International Affairs and Trade Counsel for the Society of the Plastics Industry Incorporated, the National Trade Association for the U.S. Plastics Industry, and has held positions with the U.S. Department of Commerce, where she was awarded the CCIA, which is the Chief Counsel of Import Administration, Department of Commerce, Attorney of the Year Award. And our fourth speaker, Andrea Ewart, is the President-elect of OWIT. Her term will start in January of 2016. And she is an international trade attorney operating her own firm, Develop Trade Law, LLC, a Jamaican national and U.S.-trained trade attorney, trade policy expert. Andrea brings to her practice 20 years of experience in economic development, her expertise in applying international trade rules to find practical business solutions, and a particular interest and focus on the impact of trade policy on women and on micro-enterprises. Prior to opening her firm, she worked with the law firm of Holland & Knight, LLP, and before that in the nonprofit International Development sector. Now let's get started. Thank you again for joining our webinar today to virtually celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Organization of Women in International Trade. What we would like to do today is to tell you OWIT's story and to have a conversation about the impact that OWIT has made over the past 25 years and discuss our plans for the future. So let me start with OWIT's story. As I mentioned, OWIT is a worldwide nonprofit organization that focuses on helping women develop and execute global trade opportunities. Professional business women's associations can help to mitigate the negative effects of trade where women are disproportionately excluded from the benefits of globalization in a variety of ways. Providing mentorship, practicing collaboration, and empowering women, coupled by the availability of technology, are part of the support system provided by these associations. OWIT, an organization born to alleviate the disproportionate disadvantage of women in international trade in the United States in the 1980s, where women could not be promoted to higher positions of responsibility and leadership due to the infamous glass ceiling, came together to make a change with their passion and steadfast vision. It seems like the boardroom for women leaders who marked a difference in the past was not a traditional boardroom as we know it, rather a living room. OWIT had its beginnings in living rooms of passionate and determined women in various cities in the U.S. And now, 25 years later, we are reaching out to professional women across the globe to serve as leaders in their communities to foster international trade and the advancement of women in business. The founders of OWIT and OWIT chapters put their minds together in an independent manner in several cities across the United States, unbeknownst of each other, with similar goals to advance the careers and opportunities for women involved in international trade. Within 4 years, learning of each other, leaders of these chapters got together in Washington, D.C. to form what we now know as OWIT and organized the first annual conference to provide educational opportunities to their members as well as other women within international trade. The opportunity for networking and collaboration to empower each other and provide that support network to build confidence and a platform for advancement. Since then, OWIT has held 17 annual conferences, and next year we will hold its second OWIT Leadership Retreat. We anticipate the opportunity to partner with organizations as we have in the past so that we can expand the opportunity of education, collaboration, and networking to our members and the local international trade community, to women leaders from around the globe. Today, OWIT can be found in 26 localities in North and South America, Western Europe and Africa, and has more than 2,500 global and virtual members. And we continue to grow as more professionals see the value of joining OWIT or establishing an OWIT chapter in their community to provide networking and educational opportunities for those involved in international trade and business. OWIT is positioned to encourage products, entrepreneurial services, and diverse culture to flow freely. We network together to help our countries and grow our businesses. OWIT has provided a forum for collaboration and opportunity to benefit from the experiences of each woman leader. They strive to promote professional growth, mentoring, education, collaboration, and leadership among women employed worldwide in international trade, and business in both the public and private sectors, and inspire upcoming women leaders to suit. Now let's hear from our guest speakers. So, I'd like to ask my first question for all of you. Can you please tell us what attracted you to OWIT in the first place? So let us start with Leanne. Leanne Hackman-Carty, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks, Lilia, and welcome to everyone. I'm honored to be on the panel. I would say it was back in about 2001 or 2 when I first found out about OWIT, and I was actually looking on the internet for a group like this, and it came up, and there were very few, if I don't even recall if there were others in the market at that time. And of course, when I started digging into it, there wasn't any presence where I was living, and so got engaged with their chapter development person and eventually started a chapter, which I now know it's over the past couple of years has fallen apart, but at the time we had a lot of energy around it. And to me, you know, it was really around the global network and the ability to connect not only locally, like for me that was not the driver, it was more of the global network that was more of interest to myself. And I know as I got more involved with the organization, I just felt like there was a lot of opportunities. It was a very welcoming organization. Felt like there was an ability to get involved on the executive and in leadership capacity, and that was fantastic. I mean, for the opportunities that it brought and the ability to make a difference. So to me, I would say the network and the opportunities were probably the things that attracted me most to OWIT in the beginning.
Thank you, Leanne. Thank you very much for your thoughts. Angela, how about you? What can you tell us? What attracted you to OWIT in the first place?
Great, thanks so much, Lilia. Well, for me, it was really an interesting foray. When I first moved to Washington, D.C. as a congressional staffer in the 90s, I was taking on a new portfolio. It was a new city, and it was an area largely dominated by men. And I found a brochure, which was wonderful, that was talking about the organization Women in Trade and also its mentoring abilities. And I found that at that time, it was an opportunity for me to not only learn and meet subject matter experts in international trade, but I also found it to be so much more than I expected. And now, all these years later, it's been several decades of a sisterhood of amazing professionals around the world. Much as Leanne said, this network is unparalleled. It expands across countries, professions, generations, and experience. and all of the participants have a very common vision. So it was an organization for me that helped me launch my career, and it has helped me sustain my career and grow it, but also help grow amazing women in this profession as well.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Angela, and you're absolutely right about that, yes. Okay, Karen, please tell us, what attracted you to OWIT?
Well, my experience was very similar to Angela and Leanne. Myself, again, I, like Angela, I was in Washington, D.C. I was a younger attorney, and this was in the late 90s, and I was involved in international trade, and I was looking for an organization where I could network, but really for me it was about finding a mentor, finding someone, another woman who was already in the international trade field who I could mentor with and help guide me in my own career path. And OWIT offered that opportunity, and I did establish not just mentors, but actually very good friendships and opportunities for my own professional development by taking on a leadership role in WIT, which is the DC chapter, learning how the organization was structured, planning programs, and really not just finding the mentorship, but also the assistance to my own professional development. And ultimately, when I left Washington, D.C. and relocated to the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, they had just started an OWIT chapter in Hampton Roads. And when I moved here, it was the first place I looked to get to know people, to network in this new area that I had moved to. And I ultimately became the president of the OWIT chapter in Hampton Roads. So OWIT over the years has been extremely valuable for me in terms of not just the networking and the mentorship, but the education as well as professional development, and certainly the long-standing friendships that I have developed over the years in being a part of OWIT.
Thank you, Karen. Andrea.
Thank you, Lilia. Thanks to everyone. I'm very, very pleased to be participating on this panel with some illustrious predecessors from whom I look forward to continuing to learn over the next couple of years. So I was a fairly new attorney in Washington, D.C., and I was looking for places where I could grow professionally as well as feel connected. Big law firms can be rather isolating environments in which to start your career. And I can't remember how I first learned about the DC chapter, but I attended a joint networking happy hour event, which was co-sponsored with a partner organization. And it seemed like an easy way to get introduced to an organization without making a commitment. But I liked what I saw. I began to attend various lunchtime events on topics that were of interest to me, both professionally and career-wise. Then I began to volunteer first with the DC chapter, and as I began to learn more about OWIT, and then I learned we were part of an international network that includes women in Africa, Latin America, and across the US, and I was absolutely hooked, and I have been involved in OWIT ever since.
That is wonderful. Thank you very much, and thank you, ladies, for letting us know how you first came to OWIT, came to find out about OWIT. So let's go on to our next question. Can you please tell us now what you value most about OWIT and why? Let's start with let's go back to Leanne. Leanne, please.
Okay, I think initially, I know that, to connect with people by phone and email was really how a lot of my initial connection happened, but it wasn't until we had the in-person meetings, whether it was a conference or a kind of a spring board meeting when you really started to see the value. Because there's nothing like being in the same room as your colleagues and to start to really connect, because that's where kind of the magic happens. And I know that you know, each time, and for various reasons throughout the years, I know some would work and then we'd cancel one, but when we really had a chance to get the face-to-face meetings, it was hugely valuable. And I know that after that fact, we continue to connect with each other, and even to this day, although I haven't been actively involved in OWIT in the last couple of years, I still reach out to many of the friends and colleagues that I met through OWIT when I'm looking for a speaker or advice or someone to participate in a project I might be involved in, because I still find the depth and the breadth of experience and knowledge of the network is still second to none that I have found. So that to me is hugely valuable.
Thank you, Leanne. Thank you. Angela.
Thanks, Alia. Well, I agree with Leanne. Having the opportunity to network with the chapters around the world has been absolutely fantastic. But I've also been very, very impressed with the amazing individuals and their impact on their individual communities and how they're engaging their communities throughout this organization. And I had the opportunity while I was OWIT president to visit several of the chapters, and they're during a number of roles. Had a chance to visit, for example, Leanne in Calgary and seeing what she's doing with economic development with so many different women entrepreneurs. Had the chance to visit Arizona and a number of the companies that are engaged in international trade, to go to Canada and hear how they were engaging in Ottawa on a number of the policy issues, and then link that back to what's happening here in the U.S. So each one of those experiences also demonstrated to me what an important role OWIT and its OWIT members play within the communities, and I think that continues to amaze me as they start to now cross and do joint programming with various chapters and individuals, now enlarging the network and in exposing various communities to each other.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Angela. Karen, tell us what you value most about OWIT and why.
So what I value most also comes through my experience. And there's a personal experience, and then there's just kind of the OWIT experience. OWIT has been part of my life for a number of years, including marriage, a baby who's now a toddler. OWIT has been there in the critical parts of my life, critical phases of my life. But also what has been incredibly valuable is seeing the global impact of OWIT, seeing and watching how OWIT has expanded globally, how we have reached outside of the North American, the American continent, and as far as Africa, and being able to connect with the chapter members of those chapters that are outside the United States, and similar to what Angela noted, seeing how those chapters have benefited their communities and have really incentivized and stimulated the women entrepreneurs in their communities, and how OWIT is seen as a mechanism to uplift the economic empowerment of women in those countries. And thankfully, we continue to grow and continue to expand. And I think it's very telling that as a purely voluntary organization, we lasted for 25 years and continue to be very strong in our growth and development and sustainability. So that is what I value about OWIT, and why OWIT holds such a special place in my heart.
Thank you, Karen, very much. Andrea, can you tell us, please, what you value the most about OWIT and why?
Yeah, sure. And I reiterate everything that has been said before, but I'm also going to get really personal in my response to this. Because as an entrepreneur, first of all, I really value the power of the network, which has provided me with referrals. It has provided me with persons to whom I can go if I have a quick question, connections, etc. That's just been very, very valuable to me. And then, in addition, I value two additional things that I see as being interconnected. First has been the recognition that I have received for contributions that I've made to the organization. You know, it's one thing to go in and toil away and slave away, but I have felt validated. I've felt that my contributions have been appreciated. And interconnected with that is the opportunity that it has then provided me to grow professionally, to grow as a person, as a woman, into leadership positions that have allowed me to continue to serve the organization. And I think that's a very potent combination, and that's why I'm, continue to be such an advocate for OWIT for OWIT International.
Thank you, thank you. You know, all of the responses have been so personal and so heartfelt. I appreciate all of you and what you have said, all of your comments. All right, let's go to our next question. Would you now like to describe a time when you experienced OWIT at its best? What happened? How did it feel? What made it happen? What was your role in it? And what did you learn? Leanne?
I'm going to just highlight two brief times, but I wanted to give both of them because they're very different, but I think they kind of embellish what OWIT means. This kind of builds on what Andrew just said about the whole validation recognition piece. In 2005, and Angela will remember this, we were looking, our conference location fell apart, and so we were looking at a place to hold a meeting and to celebrate OWIT's 15th anniversary. And she stepped up and we went to Washington. And I know preparing for that, one of the things I wanted to do was reach out to those women who actually started OWIT and built OWIT those 15 years. And I remember reaching out to them and so many of them being so honored that we would even remember their contribution. And it really hit me then. I thought, you know, we need to do that more and recognize people for what they did. And even if it's a small thing, even if they were only around for 6 months, a year, whatever, it's important because it does contribute to the organization. In fact, recently, one of the organizations I'm involved with, we extended a special membership category to past presidents, and I got the question, well, why would we do that? And I said, well, because it's the right thing to do. Their service should be acknowledged. And it was funny because the person, I don't know if they were happy with my response, but I honestly believe that. You know, you cannot thank people enough for giving of their time and their energy. And number two was I had the opportunity in 2003 and 2007 to bring, the Canadian government at the time had a program that would allow us to bring women in as delegates to conferences. So we brought about 12 to Calgary in 2003, and I think it was about 15 to Miami in 2007. And these were women who were from Africa, from parts of Asia, parts of Central South America. And to me, that exercise alone, I mean, first of all, it put a whole new dynamic into the conference because these women were, I mean, they were leaders in their countries. Many of them, I think, Lilia, you mentioned in your opening comments, were not engaged as women entrepreneurs in their countries. It was very tough. I met some unbelievable women from Africa, the strongest women I think I've ever met. And one of the women, it still stands out today. I think she was from Cameroon, and her comment around the table, around the boardroom table was, she said, I never thought I would be in a room like this with such powerful women. I would never have this opportunity where I live. And I just thought, holy smokes. I mean, for me, it was a little thing, but by reaching out and being able to contribute what you can make a difference in someone else's life. And I think that is amazing. And that's what OWIT can and has done for many women. That's it.
Thank you, Leanne. Yes, I I very well remember the Miami conference, what you just mentioned, absolutely. Okay, Angela, what would you describe a time when you experienced OWIT at its best?
So I have really loved the times, and it's happened several times now. It always kind of gives me goosebumps when we welcome in and we approve a new chapter. I'm joining the OWIT organization, and it's that moment when you realize you're adding in a new community, a new sisterhood to the network. And then you also realize, my goodness, there's people who think like us all around the world, whether that's been in Latin countries like Peru. We've been working with countries like Vietnam and India and more. We're trying to grow that network in a way that helps us enrich the organization. And by the same token, it's been really interesting to see those new startup organizations, even in the United States, in locations that might not be trade policy oriented, but they have ports, or they have innovation centers, or they have entrepreneurs. And so each one of those organizations has a very special startup, and it also involves so many wonderful members of OWIT helping them, mentor them, guide them through the process. You really see the best of the organization come to bear when those new chapters come on board. The other thing I would say that I've really enjoyed is the opportunity to have more partnerships. And in this world, you can't do it alone. You can't do it as an organization alone. You certainly can't act in silos. And so over the years, we've developed a number of wonderful partnerships with groups like We Connect International. And what you find is that you build on each other's strengths, and you actually enable and grow one another's networks together. And so I think OWIT, that leverage, that network piece, it transcends down to the individual members, but it also expands to those that we bring into our global network in a number of very innovative partnerships. So I look forward to the next round of partnerships, and Andrea, working with you, that will be a new role I'll be taking on in the organization. I can't wait till we see the new ones come through.
Thank you, Angela. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Karen, please.
Well, what I have experienced, or what I've experienced OWIT as its best, is not one single event, although I'm going to discuss a single event. But as Leanne alluded to at the start of her conversation, she alluded to it's wonderful to have in-person meetings and when the OWIT members get together. And it is absolutely true. And recently, in recent years, we have, for a number of reasons, have had confronted challenges, including the entire global economic recession, which really hindered OWIT's ability to continue with the annual conferences. And so for a number of years, we have not been able to hold an annual conference. But at the end of 2013, as we were sitting around and discussing what is another way that we can bring OWIT members together, even if it's not a full-blown conference, but still an opportunity for the leaders of the various OWIT chapters to come together, and we developed the idea of a leadership retreat, where an opportunity meeting for the leaders of the respective chapters to all come together, not just the OWIT board members. So we held our first leadership retreat in Washington, D.C. in April of 2014, and it was absolutely magical. And we all understood and just recognized that when we come together, we are such a group of dynamic women that when we do come together, there is just a magic that happens in terms of the friendships, in terms of the professional contacts, in terms of people actually, doing business together and forming partnerships. And we had 26 of our 27 chapters represented at that leadership retreat. Several chapters had multiple members represented at the leadership retreat, and it was such a wonderful event that we have decided that this will be a biennial event that we will put forth, and in fact we're planning the next leadership retreat for fall of 2016 in Geneva. So for me, OWIT is at its best when we not just talk about the network, but feel the network. And the way we feel that powerful network is when we come together. And that is what just makes OWIT such a wonderful organization to be a part of, because then you realize how incredible the organization is.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, definitely. Those are pretty powerful words right there. Thank you. Andrea, please.
Thanks, Lilia. I too chose to focus on perhaps not so much an event, but a pattern that I've seen, and it builds on what Karen just said. In the past 2 years, in my supporting role to Karen as president, we have encountered and worked through some major challenges. She alluded to some of them. We've also launched some key initiatives, and through all of this, it has been an absolute pleasure to see the OWIT Executive Committee and the board working as a team. The new website, which we are in the process of rolling out, is an example of that. And this website will function, is an example of how we're going to be using the technology that we have available today to physically connect, or virtually, I should say, connect to the OWIT network around the world. And at the beginning of the process, the amount of money that we needed to raise, and the concept, it seemed in a way like a dream. But we figured it out. It was mostly self-funded. We have to thank some corporate sponsors like Walmart. But for the most part, chapters stepped up and contributed to fund this new website. That was a brilliant strategy, by the way, put together by Karen. But what all of this taught me is that we should not be afraid to dream as an organization, or as leaders to lead, and to look beyond what we have today to continue to build on the enormous potential of OWIT International. That's what brings us together. That's why we keep coming back to the table. That's why I have stayed involved with the organization for so many years, because of this potential. And we just need to keep dreaming and keep acting on those dreams.
Thank you, Andrea, very much, and thank you all. That was, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, very, very interesting, very powerful words. And let me just reflect. I'm just going to say back a few of the words that were used, a few of the feelings that were said. And the in-person meetings just was something that that every single one of our guest speakers have mentioned. The ability to the ability to network around the chapters and individuals. How OWIT has exemplified and has uplifted communities with their economic empowerment. The personal power of the network referrals, interconnected, to feel recognized, the sense of recognition based on the contributions that were made. The validation of our of this feeling comes again from big events that OWIT has had, different conferences when we truly made it truly global in different areas, and the last one was in Miami. When we welcome new chapters, Angela, when she mentioned when we welcome a new chapter, it's not just a new chapter, it's not just another number for us. It is that we will get to expand the sisterhood that we have, get to expand the network, get to expand the referral base, get to expand the people who we will get to know, usually quite intimately, and expand the friendship. And to feel the network, as Karen mentioned, and a pattern to keep dreaming, Andrea says. So that is what we will do for the future. So now let us imagine that it is 2020. Another 5 years have passed, and we're about to celebrate OWIT's 30th anniversary. You look around and you notice that OWIT has developed exactly as you always wanted it to. So my next question to all of you is, what has changed? What do you notice? Is there an image that would describe this? Leanne, let's start with you again.
Well, and when you kind of posed this question earlier for us to think about, this is the only image I've used once before, and it was used at our 15th anniversary. And it's, for those of you who should Google it, it's a buckyball, B-U-C-K-Y ball, and it was an image that I saw, and I thought, that's OWIT. That's this interconnectedness. No matter where you go, you're somehow able to connect to everyone because there is such strong relationships, and you're all, I mean, it's very obvious you all have some type of relationship, some kind of connection. So to me, that's the one that still stands out for me in my mind. 2020 used to seem like a long time away, and it's actually not that far anymore. So when you think 5 years out, I mean, I look at the sustainability piece, and it was always there. I always, you know, even when I was president, I thought no man's organization would even think about running on pure volunteer support. It would die. And yet, you know, it's amazing how much women they're committed, and they will do it, and they volunteer their time. And I always felt incredibly guilty asking women to give more of their time because I know how stretched they are. But when women are passionate, they do it. And so, you know, hopefully, if you were to look at 5 years ahead, what it could look like, I would hope there's some kind of internal capacity that help really grow the organization. And then volunteers could really focus on just the networking piece and the content piece. Engaged members, I mean, the ability to, whether you've got a local chapter or a national chapter, like just being able to get into that network in a very seamless, easy way and benefit. The whole credibility piece, I think, I mean, OWIT's got a 25-year track record, but really to be able to take it up a notch and governments around the world to recognize this is an organization that needs to be included. When the issues international trade, they need to be talked to. They need to be included and involved in policy direction. And the last thing around the partnership piece, I think there's always opportunities to work with others, and it sounds like that has always been a priority and will continue to be a priority. And I can even think of some other groups which I'm involved in that would be natural liaisons for OWIT. And I'll be chatting with, I guess, Andrea, see if that's a potential something that we could work on. But that to me would be where OWIT would be in 5 years.
Thank you, Leanne. Thank you. Angela.
Well, I think 2020 is just amazing to think about. As Andrea mentioned, investing in the website is just such a huge game changer, because at that point we should have absolutely mastered the art of digital connectivity and act as a catalyst to bring people together quickly, seamlessly across the globe. We're starting to do that, whether it's through webinars just like this. But also, I kind of think of it in the context of like a global transformation information highway that moves very quickly, charged with energy, allows chapters and individuals to reach out and connect with each other even faster than they already are today. So, highly energized organization in 2020. I also want to say, for me personally, I think that's going to be in 2020, the women who are on this call have had the immense opportunity to work with, work alongside, work together with each of them, and they're great leaders in their own space, will continue to lead. And maybe the one thing that has touched me most about this organization is that these are women who continue to grow and support one another. And I'd love to see that number continue to grow and amplify across the world.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you. And yes, let me go on with Karen, please.
So, taking on with Andrea's theme of dreaming and continue to dreaming, and Andrea knows we have worked very hard in partnership where, you know, I'm the big dreamer, but Andrea has been the executor of the vision of the website. And I do see the website is part of the dream. The website is the ability to truly connect every individual in the OWIT network. And in doing so, having OWIT become the source for anyone involved in international trade. Almost if it's become a question of your credibility. Are you really someone in international trade if you're not a member of OWIT, right? And that comes with growth. That comes with, I think of the Verizon map in the United States. Verizon shows that map and it shows all the dots in the United States. I think take that Verizon concept, make it globally, and I'd like to see all the map populated with OWIT members around the world, with this very viable network of professionals connected. And for business women, for entrepreneurs, having a business-to-business matching opportunity, whether it's, you know, providing services, goods, people connecting and doing business through the OWIT network. So I dream big, I dream wide, I dream far, and it's all just a matter of what do we need to do to make it happen, and let's make it happen. So that's what I hope and pray for OWIT's continued future growth and sustainability.
That's fabulous. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Andrea.
All right, thank you. Building on what each of the previous speakers has said, I'm going to put a number here. So my vision for OWIT in 2020 is that we have 5,000 members operating as an international network. That's what we are right now, but through the network, through the website, actually connecting us so that we are able to start doing business around the world with each other, contact each other for information, make referrals to each other, and find any number of ways to support each other. I think we're also going to have to grow beyond, and I know this is something Karen has put out there at the last board meeting, so I'm building on that, to be prepared to grow beyond the way that we're currently organized as a network of local chapters that host programs locally, and those will continue to be very, very important and very vibrant. But we will also begin to use various platforms to allow members, wherever they're located, to participate and start to do more of and have more of these type of virtual programs. OWIT International, as Karen said, will be the go-to organization for women entrepreneurs around the world who seek to do business internationally. I have to add that a very practical note, we will also have in place at least one full-time paid staff person to support this work and the organization's continued growth. Karen is the only one who has alluded to the fact that we have accomplished everything that we have done up to this point as a primarily volunteer-run organization. We now have one part-time staff member. We're going to need someone who is going to be able to dedicate their time to make these to bring a lot of these dreams into fruition. And finally, I love the ideas of partnership. I look forward to working with you, Leanne. Thank you for that suggestion, and to anyone else who wants to reach out to OWIT International.
Thank you, Andrea, very much, and thank all of you ladies for sharing your vision of OWIT's future with us. You know, the vision of the buckyball. I remember that, Leanne, some years ago. And the truth is that it still stands, and that comes together with Karen's vision as well. You know, the partnership, it all is lining up so that we continue to be a premier international trade organization and we grow to the level that you have dreamed, Andrea. So with that, I would like to, we're getting close to the hour here, so I would like to leave a few minutes for some questions from our audience to join. So Amy, if you could help me out here if there are any questions from the audience.
Yes, it looks like we have one person. Is there a limit on how many parties can attend a particular chapter?
I'm wondering if they're asking about the leadership retreat.
Right, the leadership, like if there's a limit, I guess a limit to how many parties can attend a particular chapter. I think it's just based on a per chapter basis.
Okay, I'll let Karen or Andrea answer that question.
Hi, this is Karen. No, there is no limit on the number of chapter individuals, chapter members who can come to the leadership retreat. It is open to however many from the chapter want to come. And but of course, you know, we have no right now. If Andrea changes things, her vision will have support, financial support. But you know, it's really up to the individual, because a lot of times our folks who come to our meetings do so by paying out of pocket.
Right.
There's no limit on the numbers.
Yes, exactly. Let me use this opportunity to make a plug for the 2016 Leadership Retreat, which is going to be in Geneva in sometime in the fall, probably somewhere between September and October of 2016. It's going to be hosted by our Lake Geneva chapter, extremely vibrant chapter with a lot of connections with the WTO, ITC, UNCTAD, a number of the other international trade organizations. We're working to put together a full program. Stay tuned, but it is going to be a very exciting opportunity both to connect as an organization in the way that we usually do at our board meetings, and to look internally at our own leadership, to present opportunities to discuss ways in which we grow both at the level of OWIT International and as chapters, and then the exciting array of opportunities or of events that our Lake Geneva chapter will put together. So stay tuned, please. Look forward to seeing as many of you as possible there.
Thank you, Andrea. Amy, any other questions?
Let me look. I don't see any, but I think
No, I do actually. So can you speak?
We have a.
Can you speak to a moment of the personal fund OWIT has provided in additional to business benefits?
Yes. That was the
Oh dear.
Okay, I'll start.
Karen,
This is Karen. Okay, so everyone who knows that when Karen comes to a board meeting, I have a partner in crime whose name shall remain nameless, but I have a partner in crime, and we have a party train. And usually that party train goes out on the evening of our board meetings, and we have a wonderful time. And those times are really, what I see is that those board meetings, those weekends are time for those of us who are mothers, wives, you know, we have all the commitments in our life, but in that one weekend we get away from it all. And we get to just have fun, and have fun with other women. And so that personally has always been a personal time of fun for me. I'm not going to go into specifics about how much fun, but it's always a fun time, or the social activities, the party train after the board meeting.
Great. Yes, absolutely. Okay, any further questions?
Yes, I see one more here. What advice can you give to someone who is graduating spring 2016 with an associate's degree in international business and trade to better market themselves to potential employers? I have one word of advice. Join OWIT. Find out if there's a local chapter in your area. Well, let me make it more broadly. Find an organization that can support you and mentor you and help you make the connections that will be important in your business, in your career going forward. And if you're fortunate enough to find that there is an OWIT chapter in a local chapter in your area, then I would strongly encourage you to join that chapter. And if not, perhaps just to reach out to us at the OWIT international level, because we do help to make those connections virtually as well. I don't know if anyone has something to add.
Andrea, this is Angela. I would add to that too, not only join OWIT, but get involved. If you have the chance to be on a partnership committee, that gives you exposure to other organizations. If you have the chance to be on programming, you can work with guest speakers. It gives you visibility as well. So that ability not only to be active in the room or participate in a brown bag luncheon, and people have the chance to hear from you and how you are making a difference or what you are interested in your own professional career. So that getting involved, I think, is really key to unlocking the power of the network.
Absolutely.
Very, very good point. Thank you. Any further questions?
This is Andrea. I'm not seeing any more questions.
No more questions. All right. Well, we thank you all very much. Please join me in thanking our guests for this very stimulating conversation. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. We invite you all to stay tuned to OWIT. Visit our website at www.owit.org. To join our mailing list, join our OWIT LinkedIn group for other information, including our next webinars. And, well, enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope everyone has a great week. And I hope you've enjoyed the words of wisdom that many of these, that all of these ladies have presented to you. And, you know, the one last thought from my end. Each and every one of these ladies has brought to you with such heartfelt comments. I know each of them, and I know that from their heart they have presented their thoughts, their suggestions, their recommendations, and I thank them for that, and I know that that is the success of OWIT and what will lead it, where Andrea and anyone else and everybody else has dreamed OWIT will be in 2020 and beyond. So thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. And again, hope you have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lilia.
Thank you.